Oh my God, y'all. I'm probably not even going to post this because it's probably going to be filled with so much negativity that I'm going to be like, oh goodness, no, I cannot. But then on the other hand, I usually have like 8 people watch the video, so maybe I will. But just want to talk about a couple of things that are going on. Oh my goodness. I mean, I haven't posted in months. I think the last time was the Karen Reed trial, and man, what a disappointment that was. It wasn't the fact that it was a hung jury. What was so disheartening to me about that was, and without Boundless Millennial, who was really, there to just point out all the insanity surrounding that trial. I mean, I felt like the carpet is on the ceiling because, yes, I know that people take up causes for people, but that is one cause that I could not, for the life of me, figure out. I mean, goodness gracious. Every time I turn around, I hear people calling people Karens. And even when, to me, the woman isn't acting that privileged, people slap that name on her and they're like, oh, she's a Karen. And then meanwhile, you have the epitome of a Karen, because I think Karen Reed is probably one of the most privileged acting people in terms of the way that she pulled that defense and just put every single person under the bus like that, with no regard for their families and the children and their friends. And I mean, it was just, to me, that's a Karen, and everyone loves her, and she has support like nothing I've ever seen. So to me, that is one thing I just could not figure out. I mean, the only way that I would have been more shocked to see the support for Karen Reed would have been if all of a sudden I started seeing this huge support for Wendy Adelson. I mean, that probably would shock me even more. But other than that, I was just really, it almost sent me into a depression in terms of, I love to watch my YouTube channels, but I had to unsubscribe to so many of them because all of these people were just blindly following Karen and the defense. And it was really making me nuts. And I was just like, no. I'm just going to stop going to this channel and that channel and this channel. And before you knew it, there was like nowhere for me to hang. And so I just started to get kind of, bummed about it. But I'm over that. Excuse me. I just started watching other trials and I'm over it. I mean, it is what it is. Nothing could surprise me now. And I do mean nothing. And that's good, because so many of the trials that I've seen lately have been like, oh my goodness. I mean, the one where the mother, Lori Shaver, had her daughter. I mean, I say had, but I don't think she put her daughter up to it. I mean, yeah, the kid was probably brainwashed to some degree. But what I find with teenagers is they either love their mom to death or can't stand them. And that one really loves her mom to death. So I think she was more than willing to be like, what if I go on the stand? I did it. I can say I did it. Or maybe she really believes she did it. But I don't think that Lori put her up to it. But I just thought it was so comical watching the teenage daughter's testimony. It was like, you could see through it like it was cellophane. And I knew she was going to go away. And she did. Or she was guilty anyway. She hasn't gone away yet. But that was pretty entertaining, really. And then Alec Baldwin trial. Oh, I love that. I mean, I wish it would have been longer, because I watched that same trial for 3 days. I've watched it like 4 times now, because watching Carrie Morrissey get hers and watching her scramble and like the day before the motion was put in, she was so, smug and just thought she had this. And then slowly her whole thing just crumpled to the point where I was reading some of the comments and they were saying, your case is really going off the rails when the prosecutor has to get on the stand. And that is just nothing truer than that. So that was really entertaining. And I just really, really loved Alec's defense attorney. I can't think of his name. He was amazing. And, excuse me. And then, this week I'm actually, I really wasn't as excited as everybody to watch Donna's trial. I just had a really bad feeling about it in a couple of ways. I didn't think it was going to happen what happened, but I just thought it was going to be very anticlimactic for many, many reasons. For one thing, I thought maybe it's going to be too short, because to wait for something like this, the buildup was just through the roof. Nothing could live up to that. And I also felt that way about Charlie's. I thought Charlie's was going to be a lot better, and it was so short. And then when he had that crazy defense, and for a couple of days, you're like, could this work? That was kind of, mind-numbing. And then she rested with no rebuttal case, which amazed me, because I really thought she took a chance. But she knew what she was doing, so that was fine. But I just didn't, it's just, watching Donna so old and feeble, I mean, there's just something about it that is not satisfying to me, because even though I know what she did was so awful, there's just no, I mean, I'm not going to say she's paid her debt for it, because she hasn't, but surely the past, 10 years, well, not 10 years, because for a while I think they thought they got away with it, but the last couple of years, at least since Charlie's been arrested, she hasn't had a good life by no means. But the last 6 or 8 months, I mean, you just take one look at her and she just looks horrendous. I mean, I see that picture where she was standing with Wendy and they were both dressed up going to some ball or something, and that wasn't more than 6 or 8 years ago, I don't think. So wow, how the mighty have fallen. But so, to me, there isn't, like, even if the trial had gone forward and Georgia got her guilty verdict, I'm really losing so much of my enthusiasm for trials, because everything gets kept out. I mean, it used to be like you watched a trial and you just learned so much, but now it's just sidebars and objections and victims' rights and I mean, not victims' rights, the perpetrators' rights. And it's just, you can't get an answer to anything. And you're just sitting there wondering, well, why was that objected to? Why was that, sustained? It's just more, when you leave, you're almost more confused and didn't know things, but now you know things happen, but now you don't know why. And it just, I don't know, they're not very satisfying these days. But quite frankly, when the night before, when that motion came out, I was like, I'm not sure this is going to even go down, because it just seemed like that there was a big, problem, which a lot of people were just kind of overlooking it. But then in the morning, it was so clear that it was going to be dismissed. I mean, that Rash was going to be fired. But how funny is that? And what nobody really is saying, which I'm dying to know, is this Charlie giving his mom the big FU, or is he just looking out for himself and he just can't, couldn't let her go on with, which it was right. I don't even know how that ever happened. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I just, when you think about Judge Everett, how many times, I think it was 3, that he kept telling Donna, conflict, making her be aware. And how do you only do that from one side? I mean, it's so obvious you would need something from Charlie. And so I don't care what anybody says. I think Judge Everett is good. He's even-tempered. He's smart. You can't pull nothing over on him. He's sharp. I'll give him all that. But I think he dropped the ball too, because I think he should have said, when he said, I'm going to represent Donna, he should have said, okay, I want the signed waivers on my desk. And even like everyone says, could have been rescinded at any point, which I think is kind of crazy. What is the point of a waiver or a plea or a confession? Or, I mean, if nothing is signed in blood, then it's like victim jail, because everybody just is sitting around hoping that things don't get rescinded and pulled, and just doesn't seem right. I mean, God, do we need an overhaul for our justice system? Yeah, you heard it here first, folks. But anyway, so that was that. And then I watched 2 trials in between. I watched the one where the customs agent killed her husband as he slept or something. And I never thought she would walk, but man, she did. She convinced everybody that she was abused, and bam, she got off. And then there was Ashley Banfield, which was like, oh my God, there's no way anybody ever could have believed that she was a battered woman. And yet she had her followers. So I guess there's horse for every seat, or however that goes. And an ass for every saddle, that's it. And then there was just the one the other day, and I can't remember the specifics. Oh yeah, the the teens were at home, and the mother shot the husband. He's a fireman for like 20 years or something, and she shot and killed him, and she claimed abuse, but she's going up the river. So it's pretty crazy what's been just really insane. And then this week I watched Gregg, which it's so funny because when I first turned that channel on, no, we don't want a phone call. Really? Let me see. Am I still recording? I think so. Okay. So Gregg, I'm sorry, I'm like, who's this calling? Okay, when I first watched her, I was like, oh my gosh, she's a kid. And I was kind of blown away. But then I saw the stepdad. And so he was like, there was never no signs. I mean, she was on one medication recently, and then we stopped it. And he downplayed. Oh my God, did he downplay? Because when the psychiatrist came on, and then all her therapists, and then you see that she's been having issues for years, and then all that marijuana that she was smoking, and people don't understand, but man, you cannot not mix an SSRI, I think they're called, with any kind of, like pot from 20 years ago, maybe, because it's so much less potent that it was, so much more milder, but now there's like all these drugs sprayed on it, PCP, whatever, and man, you really can go off the rails. So I think that girl, I mean, she was doing, I think she deserves a guilty verdict because she was really an entitled little brat, which I didn't think at first. I was like, oh, she must have just had some psychotic episode out of nowhere, and look, she's so sorry, and no way should you try her as an adult. It just was an impulsive move, and like one of the commenters said, she's so young that she probably thought, like from her cartoons, when you shoot Bugs Bunny in the face, he comes back the next day. So I was totally on the side of her getting off. And then I watched the rest of the trial, and I was like, first of all, that father is stepfather, but he's like delusional. He's like, yeah, me and Carly are good now. Less than 5 months ago, he shot her and killed his wife. How are you good with the stepdaughter? I mean, surely you should have some kind of maybe forgiveness in your heart, because she is young and everything, but to have a great relationship when you go see her every weekend, call her every evening, I'm like, what? That was just bizarre to me. But he looks a little weird. Like, he's got those, I don't know, psycho bags under his eyes. I don't know, probably not sleeping. But anyway, but yeah, so her trial, I don't know if it's over. I haven't watched today, but I'd be interested to see her get, life or something, because I couldn't have any sympathy for her, all the things she was doing. And I know it's true. It's when her mother said, I'm taking your vape pens. She was like, oh, no, you ain't. Because I've seen teenagers. I mean, I've had a couple. And they can be pretty horrendous when you start taking stuff from them, a cell phone or their pot or blunts or whatever. I mean, it gets pretty hairy. So I have no sympathy for her whatsoever. So that's where we're at. But I did want to say that, who I think would be the best attorney in the world for Donna? And he's in Florida too, and I know he's still practicing. I see him from time to time as a commentator on CNN, or contributor, a legal analyst. But I don't know if she could get him, but I mean, he was the most amazing. Well, I don't know why I'd be even suggesting a great lawyer for Donna. I surely don't want to see her get off. But I just have to make the point how well he would do. Mark O'Mara, I don't know if any of y'all watched the George Zimmerman case, but man, he was so good because he wasn't hostile, but he was so firm, and you just couldn't help but love Mark O'Mara. He was really, really good, and he would probably be able to just jump in, and I mean, I don't think he'd get her off, but he could maybe, he'd be pretty good at getting the reasonable doubt in there, because in some respects it's not a very strong case. And that's another reason why I really wasn't looking forward to it, because with all the buildup and everybody so positive that, it was going to be a great trial, and I was like, what if she gets off? For one thing, I thought she was going to look a lot better. I thought she was going to have little cardigan sweaters. I thought she was going to have a nice haircut and her hair dyed and her little glasses. And I just thought she was going to look good. But she just looks so bad. I don't really understand how she came to court that first day looking like that with her ratty hair and a ponytail. I don't know if she was going for sympathy, but I thought she should have tried another approach, like, a very refined person that would never resort to hiring a hitman, whereas looking like she did with the terrible hair and no makeup and the hair, I think that she just hurt herself really bad by looking like that. So I don't know what she was thinking, but anyway, all right, well, that's all I got. So hope everybody's doing well, and signing off for now. I guess we'll see what happens. Thanks, y'all. Bye now.